Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're watching or listening on the podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Miles Grant Show, the Mind of Mentors edition. I'm enjoying these episodes where we review books that I've been reading so that you don't have to read them and so that you can just get out and apply the key essence of the book. If you're here, if you're watching live, let me know. Give me a yo in the chat. Let me know that you're here. And grab a notepad because I'm going to go through some, got a great book that I'm sharing with you tonight. Really, really good book. Full of common sense stuff that isn't necessarily common practice. Really good personal development book. Kind of wish I'd had this book 15 years ago. There's a lot of great personal development books out there. For me, this is a really good book because if you're new to personal development, I think you'll get a lot out of this. If you've been in personal development for a long time, then it will just be really good repetition. I think, repetition really is the mother of skill when it comes to, integrating and applying knowledge. I always bang on about this saying that knowledge is not power, it's applied knowledge that's power. And there's a lot of really good stuff in this book to help you to apply knowledge. So today's book, let me know if you're here, by the way, give me a yo in the chat, in the comments. Today's book is by Vishen Lakiani, the founder of Mind Valley. Mind Valley is a personal development platform, which I have a membership to. Incredible personal development platform. Highly recommend you check out Mind Valley. But Vishen Lakiani's book, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, just read it this past week. It's a really good read. I'm going to share with you my key takeaways on the book. First thing that I love that Vishen says is you've got to be aware of what he calls your rules. Rules is an abbreviation for bullshit rules. He goes on to say, there's a lot of there are a lot of truths in life. It is a truth that we need oxygen to breathe. It's a truth that we're all going to die one day. But he said a lot of stuff outside of that is beliefs that he calls rules, bullshit rules that say you can or you can't do something. Beliefs that you are confident or not confident, that you have the capability, that you don't have the capability. And he said it's really important that you question what you believe. For example, he shares a story of how when he was a teenager, he had an aspiration to work for Microsoft. And his family, being Indian, I believe, kind of said to him, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that. Gave him all these reasons why, gave him all these rules to say why he shouldn't aspire to work for Microsoft. You won't make it happen. They're not going to hire you, all this kind of stuff, right? So anyway, Vishen Lakiani goes on to work for Microsoft. He doesn't just go on to work for Microsoft. He goes on to work for Microsoft at such a high level that he's invited to Bill Gates' house and has intimate conversations with Bill Gates. And just when he thinks he's at the pinnacle of his career, that he would finally get the approval of his parents, he makes the decision to leave Microsoft because he doesn't want to be there anymore. To which his parents say, what are you doing? You've got this great job at Microsoft. Why are you leaving? And he says, hang on a minute. 20 years ago, you were telling me that I would never get it and I shouldn't go for it. And now I'm there. You're telling me that I shouldn't go for the next dream. I think it's amazing how we collect these rules, as Vishen says, from other people who, frankly, don't believe that things are possible. At one point, Wi-Fi was something that one man or woman once said, hey, guess what? Guess what I'm going to do? and everyone around them probably would have said, you're crazy. Lock him up or lock her up. Space travel, train travel, aeroplane travel, Bluetooth technology. These are just some of the vaccine for COVID-19. These are just Don't get me started on that, by the way. I'm not here for a COVID conversation, so don't be pulling me into that. But the point is, at one point there were things that didn't exist and now they exist. So be conscious of your rules, which are your bullshit rules, beliefs that you have inherited from other people, from your world, that make you think things can or can't be a certain way. He said you must consciously be updating your mind, and you must do it regularly. He calls it conscious engineering. He said the reason why you must consciously update your mind is because your mind is like a computer. He said your mind, he said most people's mind today is like Windows 95. It's out of date. And so therefore, when your mind is out of date, your view of reality is skewed. And he goes on to give examples such as in certain countries, people will complain about the weather. I had the radio on in the car yesterday, and the guy on the radio said, guys, the weather lately has been miserable, but it's going to be better than this next week. To which, isn't it true that if you're watching in England, you probably have at one point heard a broadcaster describe the weather as miserable? Now, is that true that rain or overcast weather is miserable? Is that really true? Is that really the appropriate word for precipitation, for rainfall? Is that really the truth? If you look up the dictionary definition of the word rain, will it say miserable? No, it won't. That's an interpretation of rain that's been created by the media, filtered down to other people. Because there are parts of the world where rain would be the solution to a famine. There's parts of the world that would kill for the rain that we have in countries such as England. So he said you've got to consciously update your mind because your view of reality is probably skewed. He said don't see things as you think they are, see things as they really are. Meaning rain is an important part of the agricultural infrastructure. It's crucial to our livelihood, to our livestock. Don't be fooled into thinking that it's miserable, which the media will try and make out like it is. So it's really important that you question your view of reality. He goes on to further talk about the importance of personal development, specifically the stuff that you do in your mind, and how even though it's not universally accepted, some people I know in my life still see me going on, next week I'm on a 4-day training on public speaking with my good buddy Jess and James. Hey brother, if you're watching, it's still weird to most people that I would spend 4 days in a hotel working on myself. Yeah, it's normal for people to go to a gym environment at 6 a.m. to work on themselves. So be really aware of what you're allowing into your mind to kind of control the way that you see the world and the way that you see your world. He talks about goals. He said, have big goals, but don't tie your happiness to them. And he stresses the importance of being over doing. I think I heard Eckhart Tolle, author of the great book, The Power of Now, talk about, how we're called human beings, but especially in the West, we often live like we're human doings. So busy, 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 busy. Habits over outcomes. Focus on habits over outcomes. He said, the cheat code to happiness is gratitude. The cheat code to happiness is gratitude. If you want the fastest, shortest, easiest way to feel grateful, to feel happy, he said, write down twice a day as many things as you can that you're grateful for 2 minutes. He said, that is literally the cheat code to happiness. He said, if you want to add to that, if you want to feel long-lasting fulfillment and joy, he said there's this thing that he learned from a guy called Dan Sullivan called the gap versus the gain. He goes on to say that most people in the Western world live in the gap. which is basically a phrase for, it's a word for, I'll be happy when insert goal or outcome yet to be obtained. He said, whereas in the East, especially, or even in developing world countries where they don't have a lot, they focus more on what they already do have rather than what they don't, which is called a gain, which goes back to the piece on gratitude. Become more grateful for what you already have rather than what you don't have. And then he finishes by saying, you want to aim to become unfuckwithable. I love these words he makes up, which basically means life is really about you versus you. Own your center and drop comparing yourself to other people. Have goals that are self-fueled, that are really only about you fulfilling your true potential and are less about being validated by other people. That was today's book review, Mind of Mentors, the Miles Grant Show. I hope you enjoyed it. Code of the Extraordinary Mind by Vishen Lakiani. Great book. Highly recommend you read it. Check it out. If you've got questions, comments, tell me your key takeaway, insight, learning. Post it in the comments below. See you next time. Peace out.